Day 2, Hello World program. Let's get going. So today is day 2. We are building what is called Hello World. Now, Hello World is a bit of a tradition in the software world because it's like the first program that all programmers write in every new language. It's really a simple program. The idea of Hello World is it just prints out text to the screen. So it prints out Hello World to the screen. That's it. That's the whole program. So why start with Hello World? Well, Hello World has some useful properties. Basically, you are outputting text to the screen, so it's very simple, but you end up having to include the basics of really any program in that language. So you end up getting a lot of the structure of a program in place, but nothing else. So that's a very useful thing. That's something that makes it a good starting off point. And so we're going to be starting off with a Hello World program ourselves too. Now, before we actually get into writing the code, let's talk about getting a code editor. Now, a code editor, sometimes also called an integrated development environment if you use sort of the advanced version, is really just a text editor. Usually code editors have a few extra features, but the idea is code itself is just text. That's it. It's text that gets run through an interpreter or gets compiled. I will explain those things later, but it's really just a bunch of instructions in text form that get run. So you don't need anything too advanced necessarily. Just a plain text editor works just fine. A code editor is going to do something more for you, which is it's going to actually look at your code and give you like helpful suggestions, format it and style it in a way that is a little bit more colorful, but thus easier to understand. So you're gonna wanna have a code editor. The code editor that I tend to use is either Vim or Emacs or Atom. All of those tend to work very well. You can also use something like Visual Studio Code, which is both free and very popular right now. All of those work well. It doesn't matter which one you use. It just matters that you use one of them. Now, a couple notes here. If you just need to pick one, just go download Visual Studio Code and use that. That works very well. You'll be fine. Make sure you do not use like Microsoft Word or some other word processor. A word processor is not the same as a code editor. It will add a bunch of stuff that you don't want as part of your code, basically. And so stay away from a word processor and make sure you're actually using a code editor. So with those things out of the way, let's get started writing Hello World. Let's get started building Hello World. The first thing we're going to do is create a file. And so we're here on the command line. We're just going to touch journal.py. That touch command will just create the file. As you can see, that popped up in our editor. I'm using Atom, and we'll be using Atom throughout this project. So we are going to type print Hello World. We're going to save that, and then back in the command line terminal we are going to run Python 3 journal.py, and as you see here, it outputs Hello World. That is the basic sort of Hello World program. That's the entirety of the Hello World program. What's actually going on is there is a Python command here called print. And what that does is it will take this text here, it's in quotes, Hello World, and it will print that out to the screen. It'll print that out inside this terminal window. Now, there are a couple other things that you can do here just to get some practice. You can print more things. So you can print 0 to Python is awesome. Now, what I would expect to happen is for it to print out both. One little terminal pro tip, if you just hit the up arrow key on the keyboard, it will hop up to the previous command. You can do that for a bunch of them. So a lot of times you will see me, throughout this course, just hitting up, running it again, that kind of thing. As you see, it prints it on separate lines. So there's an automatic new line happening. So if I say were to copy paste this again, these would all show up on separate lines, which is different than if I typed Hello World, which is a space there. You would expect that it actually, just puts them together. So one thing to note about the print command is that it will add a new line at the end of each command, basically. So you eventually, and you'll see this later in the course, as we're formatting text and things, you have to take that into consideration. So that is Hello World. Next up is your assignment. It's assignment time, and today your assignment is to create your own version of the Hello World program. Follow the steps that I just showed you in the previous part of the video and create your own Hello World program, run it using the Python 3 command, and just see how that works for you. Now for bonus, what you could do is you could play around with putting different text in there, putting multiple print commands in there, seeing what happens when you exclude certain things like the quotes or the parentheses, and see what kind of errors Python puts out. That is something that will help you learn a little bit more as you go. And then also there will be some documentation linked below, so you might want to read that as well. But otherwise, go create Hello World and have fun, and then I will see you again tomorrow.